Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to the third and final live session of this massive open online course on Sociology of Development. This is a course under the auspices of the Government of India's National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning, so important. This is a 30-hour course spanning over a period of 12 weeks. I'm sure all of you have, those who are registered for examination have all appeared in the weekly assignments, and you people must be working very hard for the final examination. In these 12 weeks, what we have discussed historical location of the idea of development within quote. I mean, when I say development within quote, as you know, we are discussing the Second World War as a point of intellectual and political departure. Why the Second World War? No, precisely because of the rise of nationalism in the Third World and end of colonialism, and the desire for development in all spheres, economic, social, and political spheres, cultural spheres. When we started this exercise, we started with a variety of indicators of development, economic indicators of development, political indicators of development, for example, mobilization, participation, and social dimensions of development. When we did the most important or the first sociological paradigm of development is known as the modernization theory. The modernization theory postulates that the less developed economies would make progress, provided they emulated the economic and social systems of Western capitals. It was based on ethnocentrism, where ethnocentrism, as you know, is a byproduct of it is based on it is based on the regime of the biological school of the evolutionary theory. Ethnocentrism, which was coined by William Graham Sumner in 1906 in Folkways, has been used to describe prejudices or prejudicial attitudes between in-groups and out-groups, whereby or where you will find that our customs, our practices, our behavior patterns are uncritically and unquestionably treated as superior to their cultural arrangements, social arrangements. That's how we try to, the proponents of the modernization theory, they try to examine society in terms of binaries or dichotomies, and dichotomizing the world, dichotomizing our economy, culture, politics. I think what we have discussed, how it is dangerous for the third world, how challenges to modernization theory were posed by Latin American societies, African societies, and Asian societies, and India is no exception to this. Then we have discussed critique of modernization theory in terms of critical variable approaches and dichotomous approaches. Critical variable approaches treat modernization as a single type of change. That's why it must be discarded, because a single type of change perhaps cannot lead to wholesome development. So, and dichotomous approaches, I mean, there is a threefold critique of the dichotomous approaches. Modernization theory. One is ideological critique, two empirical critique, and three methodological or meta-theoretical critique. Sociology of development primarily deals with development of developing societies, developing economies, colonized nations. So, it deals with the peasantry, rural societies, rural economies, and the urban poor. But you will find that subsequently sociology of development has been looking at various other aspects, including environment, ecology, and so on. Women, I mean, a variety of social economic groups, the elites, the blacks, and so on. The challenges to modernization theory, or the Eurocentric model of modernization theory, first emanated, at least theoretically speaking, they emanated in the Latin American paradigm of development of underdevelopment, named popularly known as the dependency theory, through the works of Frank and others, Andre Gundar Frank and others. The dependency theory was a byproduct of two intellectual trends, namely New Marxism on the one hand, and the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America, popularly known as the ECLA tradition, on the other. We have discussed the distinction between Marxism and Neo-Marxism in terms of four indicators. One, in terms of imperialism and nationalism, two, classes, three, revolution and ethics, and four, ecology. We have discussed Paul Barron's contribution to the rise of neo-Marxist analysis of development and of underdevelopment in terms of actual surplus and potential surplus. We have discussed Stavenhagen's thesis, 7 erroneous theses on Latin America in the context of Mexico. We have discussed Dos Santos, Brazilian context. We have discussed the experiences of Chile, Argentina, and so on. And we have also discussed African context. We have discussed Indian response to this kind of colonial construction or imperialist construction of development. Look at the works by Gandhi, for example. Look at the works by E.F. Schumacher. We have discussed limits to growth thesis. We have discussed small is beautiful. We have discussed toward a history of needs. Then we have discussed Surman's paradigms, lost and paradigms. Whereas the modernization theory was propagated by or propounded by the capitalist world, dependency theory was propagated by the socialist economics. If modernization theory is based on the theoretical premises of structural functionalism, then dependency theory is based on Marxist development trajectory. That's all. They were posed as two extremes, models of development, methods of development. And the third one, including India, perhaps didn't gain much uh, uh, because of this. I mean, because of its lack of examination of these two extremes. Because development also must be specific to its context, but should not be narrowly defined. Okay. And in the 70s, since the 1970s, so you will find that we have been dealing with different models of development, precisely because of the weakening of the Cold War, and especially in the 1990s, when there was dismantling of socialism in the erstwhile Soviet Union, and India went ahead with neoliberal model of development, uh, promulgated by liberalization, privatization, and globalization, popularly known as LPG. And what kind of impulse that we witnessed in the 21st century development studies in general and sociology of development in particular, how we have witnessed the loss of paradigms guided by the state, guided by the idea of progress, uh, and so on, which have been replaced by the idea of civil society, uh, by the idea of risk management. Uh, when you look at this, uh, India cannot, yeah, our country cannot, our nation cannot shy away from these debates. If we want to make progress in the development of our economy, our polity, and so on, perhaps this course is going to be extremely important in the context of not simply sociology as a discipline, but also sociology as a theoretical construct as well as a methodological device. If you have any question, please raise. If you don't have question right now, you can write to us. You can on the portal. We have a dedicated team. We all will send you the answers uh, uh, to your questions uh, as soon as possible. Is there any question? Okay. If there is no question, we'll stop here. And I hope all of you do well in your final examination, and all the best. Thank you very much. ठीक है? ठीक है, 5-10 मिनट में खत्म किया। 30 minutes हो गए। 30 1